checked off. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's gonna die. Yeah.
Alright, do I have to hit start when it...
No, it's
live already?
It's like gonna go live after the thing stops loading.
So it's saying now everything in here is being recorded.
Yeah.
You shouldn't say anything funny.
I'll say the funniest things you can possibly think of.
Right.
Alright, Joe.
My mistakes are, you know Marty Shaar.
Florida.
His father.
You were Florida? When did you move?
He survived in the sewer.
Really?
2 years.
I guess that's why I haven't seen you.
Yeah. 2 years.
It's such a big community.
Every day
Someone moves like
the circle.
Okay, I actually was thinking the other day. I'm like, I got to see. I told him. I had a contact. I haven't seen Joe in a while.
Well, manifesting me.
Every day.
Yeah.
Your thought
One day.
I guess so.
created this opportunity.
Yeah. So how's it down there? How's it? Yeah. Where you living?
No. Just take me
So
home.
you see Aris?
Yeah, he's right down the block.
He's down the block.
Literally down the block. So he loves it there.
Right, you can
Yeah, I
walk
know,
all
I know.
day, so I just say, be well.
Oh, really?
My dear friend,
But
wants
he's
to
here
see
now.
you.
Yeah.
He's here now. So he was here by the shoot.
Okay.
So
He was here at age?
he's
Oh,
probably
at the
there.
yeshiva.
No, I'm saying on Shabbat he was with the yeshiva.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's when I saw him.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he very much is probably there, but yeah, he's just trying to rub it in, like the life. Listen, there are definitely good things about it, but
Pros and cons
pros
everywhere.
and cons everywhere. You have to, for you have to determine
100%. I couldn't agree more.
So
I never would rub it in with anyone.
yeah, but he's the type of guy.
That's his
who likes
personality.
His personality.
It's just to have fun.
Yeah. So, what's it called? So you shot in the same place he does?
I see him sometimes, not.
You down in Wisconsin this time?
I go to Chabad.
Chabad.
Yeah, I like the hours, the schedule.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only reason. Yeah.
So what got you down there? For you, what was it?
It's a longer conversation.
Long conversation there.
It's very nuanced. Just like lifestyle change, weather. Winters are tough.
Weather's a big
Winters
Yeah.
are tough for me here.
Right? It's funny because that's the thing that I was. Obviously, what's great about Florida is that it's never cold, basically. But like, I would prefer overall cold over very humid. So, but it's good. Everyone's good.
Great seeing you.
And the kids also. Okay. Let's see what was. I mean, it was a great job here.
Some work stuff.
So when you flying back?
Wednesday night.
I didn't want it to be nervous.
Friday.
I went away.
Yeah, spent Shabbat here.
Was it the first time you come to see me?
Yeah.
So you're taking advantage. It's good.
Yeah, I love it. You're
I think so. Is he here?
You had one touch of them?
Yeah.
I think it was already live. So,
Yes.
hey,
What else for me?
Hello. Morning again.
Morning. So we're getting summer schedule,
Yeah.
Anna-Schleich.
Have you had that bag since you were like high school?
It's my brother's bag, actually. He got it from my brother. So.
That's I was thinking. Like,
A long
this
time
looks
ago.
like it's been like it's gone through things. That's
Yeah. If you have a better bag from me, I'm going to be This is the most practical.
I got you. All right, y'all. See you. Good to
Thank
see
you. Great seeing you.
Safe flight back.
Thank you, my friend.
How about stay here? Tell them to stay here
Yeah.
first, and then you get a bag. Live.
That's true.
Can I start 1 minute? I want to get a drink.
That's supposed to tell me it's a Fisher guy. It's not some shady thing with Roll.
You can trust him. He's right along with the sun. You can trust him.
I know who he is. I'll tell you a story about that. What's terrible. I know you've been go through life, and everybody's living conditions. Rabbi Weinberg, his son-in-law. I'm gonna tell you a story about that. I think it's a good one. I had a dear friend, and I had a dear friend. You can listen to the story. I'll wait for a share. No, they call me. They don't watch. So, what do you call it? So, to make a long story long. So, make a long story long. By the way, you pray. Representing one of the biggest real estate. Very, very. The way you buy a shirt, you buy stock. He had two daughters or three daughters. No, I'll be there. You can't start without me.
Yeah, I love it.
I wish you would have said that in high school.
Okay.
I wasn't chopping.
Okay. Okay. Morning.
Is there like a lost and found something like with people? I placed my keys here and they're gone now. My car keys, yeah.
Today?
Yeah, this morning, yeah.
Yeah, it's lost and found. Check by the front. There's a bucket there where people put their keys for
Right.
shopping. I'll check here.
Okay. Okay. Welcome back. Sorry for the hiatus last week. We're in the sugya, of course. Overall, bitachon, we know. And we're specifically trying to draw down our bitachon, our trust, our tranquility, in the area specifically of reward in Olam Haba. That which we've heard about, we've learned about, every kid grows up hearing about Gan Eden, Olam Haba. No one knows exactly what it is. But as we're going to understand and explain, is that on a most basic level, we have to trust. We have to trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that there is an ultimate reward. And that reward is going to come to us whether we understand it or not. That's one of the facets of trust and emunah and bitachon, is that we don't always have to understand. We have to trust. We have to believe. And a person who buys into the sugya of Olam Haba and he believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he trusts, then he can live happily knowing that whatever he does, even if in his eyes it doesn't look like he's receiving what he deserves, if he trusts, it must be that the reward is waiting for me in Olam Haba. And that I will continue to do avodas Hashem, I will continue to serve, I will continue to keep mitzvahs, I will continue to keep away from los hases. Why? Because I know that there's a reward waiting. That's the ultimate connection to bitachon. That's really what we want to get to. Right? Bitachon is an ability through the belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu to emotionally be calm, emotionally be happy, knowing, believing that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says is going to happen. Now we discussed last week, 2 weeks ago really, just as a point of Hagdama, what are we talking about so much reward? Why are we getting involved with rewards when we know in Pirkei Avos and in other places we're not supposed to be serving Hashem for reward? That's not the point. The point is to serve Him altruistically. The point is to serve Him because out of a feeling of gratitude, as the Chovos of Avos himself says, that our entire avodas Hashem should be propelled, motivated by our hakaras hatov for whatever we receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is everything. Memela, I want to serve Him with everything that I have. You have to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to believe that everything that you have is from Him, right? And you have to think about the sugya of hakaras hatov. You have to be mizboning, think, contemplate on what we're talking about. And then if that, right, everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu into my brain, into my body, into my heart. And then I recognize that. And then I say, what can I do to give back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Well, He told me 613 mitzvahs and all the branches, right? So we should be doing that anyway. We shouldn't need to be dangled some gold and some rewards in our face to have to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He already gave me. I woke up in the morning. Once you wake up in the morning, He already gave you life. Modani Fanecha, right? We believe that. So the second you believe, Modani Fanechem, Melech Havekayim, Shechazar to be Nishmas, you gave my life, you gave my neshama back. So the entire day I should be automatically be obligated to serve him the entire day. Because if he wouldn't give me life, I'd be dead. Now that he gave me life, so then I should serve him the entire day, as much as I can. So what's the extra reward needed? Doesn't even make any sense. So we discussed 2 weeks ago that really this was in the sugi of Avram Avinu. Just like Avram Avinu was promised, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go to that land that you've never seen, you've never been to. And I promise you when you get there, I'll bless you, I'll make you big mishpacha, I'll make you numerous, I'll give you parnasa, I'll make your name great, I'll give you everything. And so Nesiv Shalom, we learned 2 weeks ago, told us that the test was that Avram Avinu had to go not because of the reward. Even though it's true. All the reward is 100% true. Kadosh Baruch Hu did make Avram great, and his children are numerous. We are the children of Avram Avinu. Yet he couldn't go for those reasons. That was the test. You have to go because the Kadosh Baruch Hu told you to go. And so one understanding is that we're not really working for the Shaar and Olam Haba. That's all true, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu promises us that. And sometimes we need it as a chizik, but that's never supposed to be the main motivation of our Avodas Hashem, right? Because many things can get in between us right now and the money, the gold, the rewards that were promised in 120 years. And when it's so far away, it's hard to believe, it's hard to be motivated by something, right? A person tells you, I need you to do me something very, very difficult for me. I promise you at the end, I know it's going to take a year to do, but I promise at the end I'm going to give you, a lot of wealth. But the whole year you have to now work and you have to spend 24 hours a day working with this guy for the banking on his promise that he's going to give you something at the end. That's not so easy, right? So really, as we discussed 2 weeks ago, it's very important to really know this and think about this and contemplate that really all of our motivation to continue going is from the schar that we've already received. All the chazdei Hashem we've already received for all the years that we've been living. Think about it. You've been alive for how many years? That itself. Yeah, there might have been some difficulties along the road. That also has to be understood properly, because it's always for our best. But even if you call them actual difficulties, you have much more good than you have bad. If you're alive today and you're over the age of 2, you have much more. You've received much more good. It's not. You can't say infinite, but it's much, much, much more good than you have received bad. Generally, are there exceptions? There might be exceptions, but we're talking to the non-exceptions. So we get motivated by thinking about all the Chazdei Hashem that's in our past, the Hakaras HaTov that we have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Memela, I'm motivated, I want to serve him. Yes, there's also schar at the end of the day. Sometimes we need to piggyback off that, we need to bank on that, but that's not the main motivation. Now, the question that the Chovos HaLevavos is going to discuss now for the next little while is, where is the source of this Olam Haba? What is this reward? Why don't we have a parsha in the Torah telling us over exactly what the schar is going to be in Olam Haba? We have no idea. So we're on page 182, and he's going to go through a number of reasons, explanations why it's not clear exactly what Olam Haba is and what we're waiting for. Again, the ultimate point, I don't want to get lost in in all these explanations. The ultimate point is that we have to trust, without any reason, really, that there is an Olam Haba, and we all, right? Chazal tell us, there's many Gemaras about it, even in Navi, it's a little bit more clear. There is an Olam Haba, we're going to get it. Trusting means without reason. I trust because God said so. That's what we want to get to, and everything that He does is for the best. That takes time, right? As we've been learning for over a year now, that takes time to build. It's not intellectual, it's emotional, it takes time. But for right now, 182, he says this is in contrast to the reward and punishment in the world to come, which are not mentioned in the Torah at all. He told us, the Chovos HaLevavos told us that the punishments for your misdeeds are clearly expressed in the Torah, right? From all the way from getting malchus, paying double if you steal, to Mises Beis, but the reward for the mitzvahs are not clearly expressed. Aval gemul haolam haba va'ansho lo perish mehem hanavi mu'uma b'sifro bavur kam upon him. However, for a number of reasons, the prophet did not explain anything at all about the nature of the reward and punishment that will be received in the world to come. I guess he's referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. Mehem, this is one of the reasons. Kitsurus hanefesh bil'adei haguf eni yadu atzlenu kol shekein mashe tis'aneg bo o titstar b'ninahu. The nature of the soul, as it is without a body, as how it will be in the world to come. Okay, I'm not getting into the whole sugya of Olam Haba, Gan Eden, Tchias HaMesim. We're just going to read his words and take what he says as the emes. It is the emes. But the nature of the soul, as it is without a body, as how it will be in the world to come, is unknown to us because it's beyond our comprehension. Because we live in a body, right? It's impossible, really, to express to a body what it will be like in experienced form without a body. All the more so, it is impossible for us to understand the spiritual pleasure or pain of the soul in the world to come, which comes to the person as a reward or punishment for his actions in this world. So we understand it can't be written down because it would be misunderstood. It wouldn't be possible. And we'll do a little hint, is that in a certain way it is written down for us. There are many, many hints to the Shaar of Olam Haba in the Torah. With your eyes, you've seen it many times, but you've never recognized it. Because as long as a person is living body, his focus is on the body, his perspective is from the body, you'll miss all the words of the soul, the language of the soul that's really expressed in Torah. Right? The Pnimius Torah, which is in the words of the text that you've seen, we've missed it many times because it's hard for us to appreciate. It's almost impossible for us to appreciate that language when we are living in the language of the body. We'll explain a little bit more. Ach perisho so limi shahaya mevin ha'inyan hazeh kemo she'amar liYeshua. The Kohen Gadol, not Yeshua that you classically know. Instead, it was explained only to those who were able to understand this matter. See, there are people in this world who can appreciate what it's going to be Shaar Olam Haba. But you have to be a very, very spiritually inclined person whose perspective is from the soul, which is a whole sugi in and of itself. But if you're that person, then you can receive it. As we find, the angel of God said to Yoshua, the Kohen Gadol, it says in Zechariah, and I will let you walk among these who stand by. Kadosh Baruch Hu said to the Kohen Gadol, I'm going to let you walk among the Malachim. In the beginning of this verse, the angel promises Yoshua, the Kohen Gadol, that he will be rewarded for going in the ways of God and observing his commandments, promising him reward in this world. It is then followed by this cryptic statement, I will let you walk among those who stand by. The author continues to explain the allusion. V'lo yazeh ba'o nafsho kishura b'gufo. Aval romaz lamashi ya'achar hamaves shetashuv hanefesh b'tzuras hamalachim b'inim pshitusa v'dakusa v'ozva l'shtamish b'gufa kishetizdakech v'sazir v'hayu ma'aseh tovim b'olam hazeh. This will not happen when the soul is tied down to the body. You cannot appreciate the spiritual delight as long as you're tied down to the body. Because the body cannot understand what you're talking about. Rather, he was alluding to what will be after death, when the soul will return to be like the form of the angels with regards to its simple and spiritual state. The simplicity of a neshama, as a result of having ceased to use its body. Okay, when a person passes away, the body, of course, is in the grave, the neshama goes up. What happened to that body? When it will be refined and shine, this is how I'm going to read their English translation, then we're going to say a little bit different. When it will be refined and shine as a result of its good deeds in this world. So the understanding here is that, right, when the body goes on, and it's in its just neshama state, the body is refined in some way, it goes through a purification process, and it links, I don't even know exactly how this works, this is not really our sugya, but at that point, when there's a certain refinement, and you're in a neshama state, you can appreciate the Shaar of Olam Haba, but for most people, they can't understand that as long as they're tied to the body, therefore, it was not written down explicitly. Some prophets understand it, and some tzaddikim, the rest of us don't. Just to point out, and this is really coming from a ha'ara, from a sefer that we've used a few times, the sefer Ma'ashra Ish, It's a parish on Shaar habitachon. He's a rav in I think he's in London or somewhere in England, and he reads it a little bit more carefully, and he says the last two lines here: Kishetizdakech vizhazir v'hayu masetom b'lamazeh. When the body is zach, refined, made pure, visazir, and it shines, v'hayu, and there were many ma'asim tovim done with that body in this world. Three things. There's different ways to learn it, but the way that they translate it is when it will be refined and shine as a result of its good deeds in this world. That the refinement and the shining comes because of the ma'asim tovim. It's a classic way to understand it. Nothing wrong. However, just for our purposes here, what the Sefer Asher Ish explains, and he says it's really from the Chovos of Avos himself, that the purpose of coming into this world in a general way is three parts. We come into this world for zikuch purposes, for zihirus purposes, and to do ma'asim tovim. What are these three parts? We come into the world, a body and a soul, we know, right? We start as a soul coming down from the Kisei HaKavod. We eventually enter into the vessel called the body, and then that body is born into this world, and then we get to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Zikuch, purifying, is when a person starts to separate soul and body. Right? Everybody here right now, we're one. However, in your mind, in your understanding, in your recognition, in your koach of the moach, we can make a havdalah. Just like you make a havdalah from kodesh to chol, you have to understand some things are holy, some things are mundane. And you could look at Shabbos you could look at it as chol if you want to. It's your choice. But we look at it as kedusha. It's set in the zman, right? The weekday is chol, Shabbos is kadosh. There's a separation. You work during the week. You don't work on Shabbos. All these types of separations that we make. Now, of course, we make them in actions. But really, a person could sit in his house on Shabbos all day and just think, today's a holy day. It's not a day of, chol. And person in his mind can start making separations between body and soul. Of course, down to the Maisa, we can refine ourselves, which is how? Through Precious. Precious does not mean fasting and flogging. Precious means not giving in to every desire of the body. To hold back on something, to refine the body a little bit. The body just wants to eat up everything in this world, all gashmias, all taiva, whatever it can get its hands on, literally. And zikuch, to purify, is this, we're trying to purify the body, right? The body left to its own would just be like an animal, right? Would just run around, just grabbing whatever it can. If there were no rules and there was no police and just take whatever it wants. However, the soul inside is trying to work on it, trying to refine it, and saying, body, you're a good guy. You don't need all that stuff. Be a little bit more refined, Eat with a fork and a knife, chew a little bit more. You don't need to order everything on the menu. You don't have to steal from you could do business nicely, you could be a met, right? The soul is like, your best Rebbe or teacher or Mora or whoever, trying to control the little kid or the student in the sweetest way. This isn't good for you, Shefela, you're better than this. Zikuch. So we come into this world to refine ourselves. Mind, to make separations between Kodesh and Chol, and then Lamaisa, to start separating. Again, nothing crazy. The Hasidus way is not to fast and to take upon himself like flogging, but certainly just to hold back from certain things. That's for sure the way of Hasidus. No, there's nothing wrong with that. The Babich Rebbe, the Yartzeit coming up, he even said to a person, there was a person who was taking upon himself fasting and all these types of things. He said that's not the way we do it. Rather, just hold back from one thing during the week that you like to eat and save it for Shabbos. Refine yourself. Hold back. Precious, hold back. Right? That's the sugya really of Gevura. Ezu HaGibor, HaKovish is Yitzro. The real strong person is one who could hold back his desires. Not who's physically strong. You're born big. I don't know, you worked out. Who cares? The one who can control himself. The Melech is the person who can really control himself. On the inside. So we come into this world, part one is to start making separations from body and soul, have the soul overpower the body and start to control it. Second purpose of why we're in this world, visaz here. Once you start making separations, body and soul, you could become more of a soulful person. You could start working on the higher ways of avodas Hashem, ahavas Hashem, yiras Hashem, dveikis b'Hashem, dveikis, to connect constantly as much as you can in your mind, in your heart, ultimately to your body, towards the Kadosh Baruch Hu. To be mindful, aware, conscious of a Kadosh Baruch Hu in your life, every single moment, whatever you're doing. Whether it's at work, whether it's in shul, whether it's drinking coffee, whether it's drinking water, whether it's sleeping, whether it's being awake, to be davuk. This is a sugya, dveikis, which is generally not touched, because you can't really touch it until you start refining yourself. Right? Until you start making separations between body and soul, then the soul is not going to want to be davuk to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Once in a while, you'll feel stirred emotionally, whether it's maybe it's a Shabbos, it's a family gathering, it's a Yom Tiv, something happened in the world. Of course, sometimes the soul does stir, and that's an alarm for us. Wake up! You have a soul. Let's work on this to be more over it more and more, to awaken it more and more. But to get to the saz here doesn't mean here to be careful. It means to shine, like Zohar, right? Zehirus. I heard this from Rav Schwartz, the author of the Log Mishkan. He says that the word Zehirus, classically, we know it from the Seals Shaar. Zehirus means to be careful, guard, warn, right? All the signs, Zohir, be careful, right? Danger. However, the word is also Zohar, to shine, to be bright. The way you become bright is by being careful. Zehirus, when you start to refine yourself and you're careful and you're poresh and you separate body and soul, and now you have a soul that you can deal with. The body is in control. You've controlled the body to some degree. And he's not just gobbling up and swallowing the neshama. A person, that's part of what Shabbos is supposed to be, right? Separate all the bodily stuff. Stop doing malachas. We have our way of the child swallows up also, but right. So when you control the body and now the soul is separate to think and to be, and it's not being overrun by the mean body. So then it can do what it's supposed to do, which is cling, attach, cleave to spirituality, to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, in everything in the world. Right? It could shine, it could become Zohar, but you need the Zehirus to get to the Zohar. So that's the second part of what we're doing in this world. And then the third part, of course, is Ma'asim Tovim. As many mitzvahs you could do them. Of course, qualitatively, we try to do it as best as we can. Lishma and Ahava and Yira, without any ego, without any taiva, and looking for reward. But we try to do as many as we can and as best as we can. And that's the tachas of the body. And then when that body goes down into the grave, everything that it occurred in this world, everything that it worked on in this world, then, of course, gets taken up. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu does what he does, and it's Zochet Olam Haba. But what I want to point out is that
I just want to make sure I'm on the right page.
we're on 183 right now, 183. But I think it's important to know something that I was already hinted to 2 weeks ago, and I'll continue to probably hint to it, is that, and we know this already, that there is a sense of Olam Haba in this world. We're saying here, you can't really sense it because, listen, you're a body. The Olam Haba is going to be experienced by a soul, but we're a body, so you can't really experience it, therefore it's not written down. However, we see from the Chovos of Avos himself that it was told to certain people. It is possible to be understood to some degree in this world. How is it understood? The answer should be obvious. How could it be understood? Why was Yehoshua Kohen Gadol told about it? How could he understand it a little bit? Because if you're a person who's working on if you're working in these ways, refining the body, separating the body and the soul, having the soul attached, cling to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and doing as many mitzvahs, which is the culmination of the attachment. The davkeinu b'mitzvosecha, we say. Dvekus, which starts in the mind and the heart, is supposed to be connected to the ma'aseh mitzvahs. If a person can live that way in this world, epis a little bit, he can either experience or understand at least what the schar of Olam Haba is going to be like. Yeshua and Kohen Gadol, obviously a tzaddik, Yisrael Olam, was someone like this. And therefore he was able to be told what's going to come because he's already tasted a little bit. This is why Shabbos is called Me'ein Olam Haba. Right? That's what Chazal tell us. Shabbos is Me'ein Olam Haba. And you're like, what? Olam Haba's going to have cholent? Kishke? Gewalt? But that's totally missing the point. Right? If you're a body, and your perspective is from the body, and you'll get to refine yourself, so that's how you would think. Oh, Shabbos is going to, right? Me'ein Olam Haba means it's going to be yummy, it's going to taste like good food, I could get a shluff in the afternoon, I don't have to work so hard. Because those are the bodily pleasures of Shabbos. And therefore, oh, Shabbos Me'ein Olam Haba, so I'm going to get even more sleep, and it's going to be even better cholent. That's what a person might think. Now, of course, many people don't think that way, but they don't know what it means really. Shabbos Me'ein Olam Haba, what does that mean? So I'm going to daven and learn in Olam Haba. That's all I'm going to do. That's I like to learn a little bit. I like to daven a little bit. It's not my thing so much. I like to do chesed more. What's Me'ein Olam Haba? And the answer is that as much as you are, the more that you refine yourself in this world, and the more you connect to the sugyas of attachment and clinging to Elokus, to godliness, to spirituality, to Kadosh Baruch Himself, which takes time. You have to learn how to do that, and it takes time. Then Shabbos becomes what it's supposed to be, a Me'ein Olam Haba. And there's a certain spiritual pleasure that you can experience on Shabbos that's a Me'ein of what it's going to be like. You can experience it, but you have to earn that. You have to earn that. And everybody probably in their life has tasted a little. It was given to you. Sometimes you don't earn it. Sometimes the Kadosh Baruch Hu just gives us that. You had that one Friday night davening, or it was one Shabbos, it was a Hallel, or some Suda, wherever it was to get, or some Kumzitz, or some Tish, or some Fabrai. Everybody's experienced it, and hopefully more than once. Something that's higher than just the shot he's drinking or the cholent. Something was in the cholent. He mamish tasted the Shabbos in the cholent. He said, this is not normal. This is something beyond. And we want to work towards that so we can receive that more. I'll give you a little bit of an example. I got a call Friday. I got a nachas call on Friday. What was the nachas call? The guy says to me, he had a really difficult week, parnasa-wise. Very difficult week. And it was, maybe it was Thursday or Friday when he did this. I think he called me on Friday. So he experienced this on Thursday or Friday. And he started to think, right? If you're in the world of bitachon, you're in the world of emunah, you're in the world of avodas Hashem, you don't just let things happen to you. Misboning, you think, try to put things into perspective. Obviously, he was a little bit of on a down. It's hard week is a hard week. And he starts to think about it and he says, you know what? Emunah, bitachon, everything's for the best. Everything that I've ever received is really from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's going through the steps of Emunah B'tachon, logically, saying it, believing it. And every dollar that I've ever received from work is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he always is good to me. Even when, this is a person who's worked on himself. Is a person who's like any other person who's gone through ups and downs in life, who hasn't. And he's working it through. And he said, it must be that this matzav that I'm in right now is also for my best. And it must be that HaKadosh Baruch, and then he says like this, not only is this for my best, HaKadosh Baruch Hu probably didn't give me parnasa this week in order that at the end of the week I come to this exact recognition that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always good to me. That when we're making money, sometimes we don't realize that. Yeah, we thank Hashem, we get the money, thank Hashem, and we just move on. But now, where he doesn't have the money, and he has to be misbone, and he has to think deeply, and he came to a deep hakara, recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all the tov that he has received, and that he was receiving right now from not having the parnasa this week, it brought him to a state of ecstasy that he's never experienced before. A spiritual pleasure, delight that he's never experienced. Now, everybody sitting here, I hope you've experienced that, but if you haven't, it's because Spiritual delight is not something that you can explain. Everybody here might be like, wow, that's so nice. You understand it logically. We can understand that there's a spiritual delight, but unless you've experienced it, you don't really know. I said to him, you've heard this Torah, that which he experienced. Fred, you've heard this Torah explained to you 1,000 times, but now you've experienced it. It's light, it's day and night. It's a different world. Or we all hear about Olam Haba and Shaar and all of this. We've heard it a million times, but until you experience it, you don't really know it. You might think you know it, but you don't really know it. Then when you experience it, you realize, whoa, I so didn't know it. And this is something that we want to get to. The way you get to it is through real avoda, real refinement. And this is really a shir bitachon. This is not a shir about avodas Hashem in general, but of course it connects very much to bitachon. The more that one has bitachon, the more he can trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and the more he can pull away from things in Olam Hazeh, and it'll be okay. Right? We cling to Olam Hazeh, we cling to Gashmias because we're nervous. Well, if I don't make 1,000 phone calls, I might not make the money, and therefore, if I don't eat all the food right now, there might not be food tomorrow. But if you trust, you become a person of more menucha, more simcha, more filled up. So then you can disengage with Olam Hazeh more. No? And then you can really experience the pleasure. The Olam Haba, Sheba Olam Hazeh. Because there is an Olam Haba in Olam Hazeh. When a person works on refinement, shining himself, doing Maisim Tovim, he can experience a Me'enom Haba in this world. He can. Olam Haba, it doesn't have to be in some other world. Olam Haba is that when a person can go to a different state of mind, a state of experience. That's called an Olam Haba compared to my Olam Hazeh, which is right now. It can happen, but it doesn't just happen. It's a bumper sticker. It can happen, but it doesn't just happen. It has to be worked on through avodas Hashem in general, and of course bitachon. Yeah. Okay, just I'll add one more nice nakuda that Sefer Asher Ish that I'm saying he connects these three avodas: refinement, shining, which means being davuk, and ma'asim tovim to the avos. So this is the world of the avos. Avram Avinu, he had to leave his whole world that he knew and go towards a God in a land that he didn't necessarily know. He believed. That was the refinement of the body. And then after the refinement, then his son Yitzchak can come and work on Dvekis. Right? That's why Yitzchak was always davening. He was always, in his house. Because he was working on Dvekis. And then Yaakov could come and combine the two and take the Gashmis of the world. Engage in the Gashmis with sheep and with wives and many children and a lot of Gashmis. And elevate it all. Kedusha. Right? Which is the Ma'asim Tovim of Yaakov. Right? And we've mentioned before, like we say every single day, the avos who trusted in you, you and you taught them, the secrets of life. 183, second paragraph, Mehem.
Can I ask you, I know you're on a roll. I just want to interrupt for a minute. I don't understand, and I'm reading it as a carrier, and I will let you walk among these who stand.
Referring to the angels.
And how do we know that?
Through the Mefarshim. Those Mefarshim who understand the Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh, they can explain these things to us. But we wouldn't understand it. That's similar to the point that there's certain levels of existence, certain levels of understanding of this world that the more you refine yourself, the more you can understand. And this is not just by Jews. Kadosh Baruch Hu allows it even by non-Jews. A non-Jew who also refines himself in certain ways, he can also be zocher to understand deeper things in this world that the average Joe doesn't understand. Two people could be standing inside of the same painting, and one sees nothing, and one sees the most amazing masterpiece he's ever seen in his life. Right? We know this. This is perspective. Two people could see a tree, and one could write 8 pages of poetry on that tree, and one guy could say, it's a tree. Right, very nice, thank you. Hi, tree. Bye. One person could look at this world and see the superficiality, the chitzonius of the world, and say, okay, very nice. Just where's my pleasure? Where's my money? Where's my stuff? And one person could look at this world and every ant, he's like going out of his kalim, like, oh my, this my Rabbi Masech, my God, Masech, the Kadosh Baruch in this world, it's gewalt. The appreciation, the perspective is based on one's own personal refinement. So 183, let's just do another reason. Page 184. והניחו לזכר בספר כמו שהניחו לזכר הרבה מפרש המצוות והחובות מפני שסמכו על קבלה. He explains an additional reason, again, why the reward of Olam Haba was not written down, expressed explicitly for us to understand. An additional reason is the reward and punishment of the world to come was orally transmitted from the prophets to the people and understood by the wise men among them. There is an oral transmission, and it does come out in our Torah Shabbal Peh, that there's the Shaar Olam Haba. Again, we believe it, it says. It was omitted in Scripture, it's not in Torah. Moshe did not write it. In the same manner that many of the explanations of the mitzvahs and transgressions were omitted in Scripture. Right? Many explanations, what's a sukkah? What's tefillin? The Torah says, V'hayu l'totafos bein einecha. What should I put between my eyes? A cup? Torah Shabbal Peh comes and explains. Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted 2 Torahs to be sent down, one written, one oral, one God-made, one human-made, combination. That's not for now, right? But that's what he did also here with the Shaar Olam Haba. It was not written in Scripture, just like many mitzvahs and details of mitzvahs, were not written, because they relied on the tradition that was passed down from generation to generation, from Moshe on Har Sinai and down. So that's another reason why it's not written. We're not going to go into the third, because the third reason is going to take up a little bit more time. But again, the main point is, A, there's an Olam Haba. Trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu that there is. Trust there is. Even when things don't look like it makes sense. Why am I not getting more? I'm such a good guy. No. We trust that the Kadosh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing, and he has the great cheshbon and shemayim. However, we don't serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu for the reward. The reward will come, but we don't serve him for the reward. We serve him because we appreciate everything that we have. We appreciate everything that he's done for us, for ourselves, for our nation, for our families, and that's our ikar motivation. And if you live that way, where we serve him because we feel motivated by the chesed that he's done for us, and we try to do everything lishma, you will then be zocha. This can't be your motivation. But if you're truly, purely motivated from a place of hakaras hatov, then you can be zocha to the Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh. You can be able to taste a little bit of that Olam Haba in this world, because if you are living in a world of avodas Hashem, motivated by the Chazdei Hashem, the Chesed of Kadosh Baruch Hu, then you will go on the path of refinement, of shining, and doing mitzvahs, ma'asim tov. And if you go on that path, lishma, with humility, that's when a person can taste the Me'ein Olam Haba of this world, in this world. Hashem will continue next week.